Our last speaker for the morning is Mr. Rafiq Razali, the Group Managing Director of Media Prima Bhd. Mr. Rafiq holds a bachelor degree, first-class honor in actuarial science from Pennsylvania State University. He has comprehensive experience in business development and strategic planning. His track record includes establishing and scaling up startup companies related to digital and information technology. His career in information technology began with Maxis Berhad, where he held various positions that included responsibilities in International Business Division and the Corporate Strategy Division. In 2011, Mr. Rafiq moved to Groupon Malaysia, and in 2015, he was part of the team that establishes KFIT, which now known as FAITH. His appointment as Group Managing Director is in line with Media Prima commitment to further consolidate its position as the largest integrated media group in Malaysia, providing the group with numerous opportunities to introduce innovative solutions to fulfill the ever-changing need of its customer. Let's welcome Mr. Rafiq Razali.
Thank you very much, Shifa Masuri, for the introduction. Panel of honorable speakers and distinguished guests, a very good morning to everyone. I'm Rafiq Razali from Media Prima, and I'll be sharing with you on our journey into the cloud over the past few years. Media Prima. Media Prima is a tapestry of iconic media brands that stretches across platforms such as television, digital, radio, billboards, publishing, home shopping, and production. Our vision is to be Malaysia's leading digital-first content and commerce company. In our efforts to realize the digital-first part of our vision, we knew from the beginning that we had to leverage off the cloud in a heavy manner. We also knew that we will not be able to cope with the technological trends in media entertainment if we do not have a robust cloud infrastructure. This is not only true for us, but also for most of the media companies globally. Which is why we have seen massive adoption of this technology in our industry over the past few years. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated adoption into the cloud at a more rapid pace, specifically in the areas of remote production and virtualization for media companies. I will cover more on our capabilities in remote production a little bit later. This is why, according to IABM, media investments into cloud computing is projected to increase significantly within the near future. The benefits of adopting a cloud infra for us are plenty, from reduced costs, optimized performance, ability to innovate and scale for growth at a much faster pace, plus benefits on mobility, security, and reliability. We knew for sure that we'll be adopting cloud technologies in a big way, but the question was, how fast do we want it to happen? We started flirting with a cloud infra in 2016, specifically to drive growth in our digital business arm. We then decided in 2018 that we'll now expand this group-wide across our more traditional platforms such as television, out-of-home, and radio by implementing a modular-based framework. And in 2020, we doubled down on this by adopting emerging technologies such as serverless and edge computing. So how have we done since 2018? Our core intentions in 2018 was to drive cost efficiency, increase active engagement of our workforce, making technology work for the user instead of us creating workflows around the systems that we use, and lastly, to have a scalable and secure platform. To date, I'm happy to say that we have far surpassed our goals for adopting cloud technologies. Our office productivity software costs have reduced by 60%, despite now having it available for everyone, including all features available. We have witnessed more collaboration between teams in Media Prima in the virtual space, even before the pandemic. This allowed us to streamline a lot of processes from a news gathering and production perspective, and unifying our sales teams and reducing very tedious paperwork. We were very fortunate to have adopted the concept of working on the cloud even before the pandemic, which was why when the MCO happened, we were well equipped and ready to deploy remote working to all of our staff. We have also invested in a strong cloud-based data infra that allowed us to have better analytics on our audiences, to be able to produce more relevant content for them. Also, we are certain that our technologies will be available all the time. And lastly, we are now able to better secure our systems and workspace from malicious attacks. This might look like an ad for Google, but we would just like to be transparent and share our experience with our cloud platform providers over the past few years. So we started our journey with managed services by AIMS and IBM, basically some on-prem, some on data centers. We migrated to the cloud early in 2013 to support our Tonton business predominantly. However, our major journey into a cloud started in 2019, as we migrated to the Google Cloud platform, which has allowed us to have many applications that ties to this platform. Among the many applications of our cloud platform are for hosting capabilities for our many digital assets, either for websites and also for our ever-growing video business. This has allowed us to not only scale our audiences in a significant manner, but also able to deliver content to them in a very fast and secure manner as well. We also do most of our technology engineering and coding in the cloud, which has led to less maintenance for our assets. This has allowed us to optimize our technology backend in a very fast manner and allow us to also gather strong analytics on what's going on with our users and also how do we improve our services for them better. So on data as well, we've also been able to go big into data processing, able to set up a strong data engineering team and gather a lot of data, not only from a digital perspective, but also from offline sources to allow us to have better analytics on our audiences. Why is this important? It's because this has allowed us to better understand the types of content that our audiences like to consume, how do we serve them better, and how do we test the limits of what kind of content that we can try doing to keep it fresh and to keep it engaging for our users. And lastly, we are confident that we are able to protect our audience data a lot better, as the security of audit from cloud-based technologies are significantly better as well. A recent example on a more recent application that we're able to adopt because of our scalable cloud infra is on what we call cloud production. Due to the pandemic, we have to figure out methods to ensure that we can continue with content production, especially for news remote. So you can imagine that during the pandemic, most of us, we would like to keep the offices not as packed, but a lot of the production capabilities require people to be present in the office, to also liaise with our journalists and our frontliners, if you may, that's out there gathering news. I think during the pandemic as well, news consumption went up significantly because majority of the audiences would like to know about the updates on the pandemic and whatnot, specifically when it comes to the SOPs and things like that. So we have to immediately figure out fast, how are we able to do this in a seamless manner? How are we able to improve our workflows between our news gatherers and journalists with our back-end processing, and how are we able to deliver this content in a coherent manner to our users? And I think with the cloud infra that we have, this allowed us to immediately have an application that allows us to do remote production in a seamless manner, as a lot of the production capabilities and the clipping, the editing and whatnot happens on the cloud, which is why, as most of our people are at home, they will stay able to, contribute to develop, class content to be available for our audiences. This was one of the main reasons why we were able to deliver news and current affairs content in a seamless manner during the pandemic. So ultimately, I think just want to give a few experiences on how Media Prima was able to adopt to the cloud. I know it seems like a really fast presentation, but generally we use the cloud for many different applications. And generally, I would be happy to take more questions on how Media Prima has utilized cloud technologies to actually help in our business. We've been through a precarious time in our business for the past few years, but we're happy to have reported 4 consecutive quarters of profit in a row, despite the challenges of the pandemic. A lot of this would not have been possible without the current infrastructure that we have been building over the past few years or so. And I think because of that, we were able to optimize our workflows. We were able to become leaner as a team, and also very much more efficient in how we do our work, which is why we were able to turn around our business in a significant way. So with that, I would actually much prefer to answer more questions on how we have adopted the cloud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rafiq, for your presentation. We will now open the floor for Q&A session. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and post your questions, or alternatively, you could also type in the chat box. Questions from Kai Xuan. Can you share a bit more on how you apply cloud computing in your customer analytics?
Right. So we started off in 2016 by building a strong data platform to be able to understand our digital audiences better. So what has happened is that we've set up what we call a data management platform that's able to better understand what kind of content people tend to read or view on the digital platforms, and be able to not only modify or come up with more of similar content in the future, but also understand what kind of ads do they respond to, and what kind of how the behavior is on our systems. So with the data that we were able to collect at the point of time, most of it is stored in the cloud via a Hadoop infrastructure back then, and that really allowed us to dive into how do we build a better content recommendation engine, which is delivering quite a lot of new traffic for us at the current juncture. So if you look at, if you go to any one of our websites, for example, New Straits Times or Sales or whatnot, a lot of the recommendation that happens within the site is due to the data that we've collected on your behavior when you've read content on our platforms prior to this, so that we can deliver you better content as in your next click and whatnot. Also, this allows us to work better with our advertisers, because now they'll be able to target relevant ads to relevant audiences that might be engaged with a particular ad. So that has really helped us grow the digital part of our business initially. But since then, we have now processed what we call also offline data on the many different other businesses that we have. For example, how understanding TV viewership in terms of how does it relate towards their consumption on radio, their consumption on digital, and also our other platforms. Also, in terms of people's reaction to our home shopping business, in terms of the purchase patterns, and how it correlates to the kind of content that they actually consume. So all of these kind of things are now available for us because of the infra that we've built that allows us to now better process these analytics on our customers.
Thank you. Next questions from participants. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and post your questions, or you could also type in the chat box. Are you able to share some examples on how cloud computing has helped improve your operational efficiency?
Sure. An example would be on, let me think, content production. So specifically in news and current affairs. So prior to this, before we've had a strong cloud infra, what has happened is, for us to be able to gather news, there are many people that needs to be involved, and the process can be quite tedious. For example, let's say there's a press conference by our Prime Minister, and I think firstly we need to send somebody over with a camera to be able to capture the particular speech that will be given. And at the same time, we need to utilize technologies to transmit that back into our servers on-prem, so that we'll be able to process it and have it available on television. We then have to have a separate team to be able to convert that particular TV feed into a digital feed, so that we can also have it available on live streaming platforms such as Facebook and YouTube. At the same time, we will have a separate team as well that will be doing all the editing required, so that we can have sound bites that's available that can be utilized, also on television, on radio, or various other different platforms. So you can imagine having 3 to 4 separate teams working on the same content, because we want it to be available across all of the platforms that we have within the group. However, with after we adopted a cloud infra that allowed us to have applications that can optimize a lot of these processes. Right now, what happens is we just send one person to cover the particular press conference. As the Prime Minister is giving a speech, the feed will not only be available on television, it will be automatically processed for it to be available on live streaming as well. And we can automatically have it, published on multiple different digital platforms, for example, on our Facebook pages, on YouTube, on our own websites and things like that. And all of this, happens instantaneously. At the same time as the speech is happening, we can also have, a small team immediately edit the speeches or have clips and sound bites of the speeches, done, immediately, so that it will be available for, radio, available for short clips on the internet, and also available on perhaps our news segments later in the day. All of this might have required, a team of 20 to 25 people before, but it is now, being staffed by 4 to 5 people because the entire process has been seamless.
Great. Any other questions? We can take one more questions. If there's no further questions, on behalf of Hong Kong Investment Bank, I would like to thank Mr. Rafiq for sharing his time and insight with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rafiq.